sick of cactus.
Follow to the bank. Say hello to all your fans. This is my wife, Kel.
Yeah.
Everyone's probably like, who's he married to? Where's the Brazilian? Kel tá fazendo? I'll include you at the start of this video. Sucked in. It's a bit of a late one tonight. What's the time? I mean, it's only 9:17, but it feels late to me. It's been a long day, not much sleep, but we got some plant mail, and I think we got some other stuff that we can pot up. May have some plant haul stuff as well. So yeah, I'm gonna make myself coffee first, and then we'll get into it. Decaf, guys, and instant. Needs to be fast. Oh, look at that. Pew, 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 pew. I don't think I've ever seen someone try and make a coffee on YouTube like this, from this angle. Such a shitty angle. It's chocolate powder. Right, you ready to go? Every time you want to tear me a new one. Story of my life. So, guys, plant mail. I couldn't help myself on the auctions on eBay this week. There were some absolutely stunning plants that came up for auction from the Living Rock in Australia. And those plants were absolutely insane. There were some Copiapoa cinereas, albispinas that were up for auction. One was a black one and the other was a white one. I'm not sure if they were both exactly the same thing, but they're stunning plants. People love Copiapoa. I am one of those people, and I think respectively these went for would have been like $450, and then actually it may have been like $500 and something, and then $700 and something, and I was just like, yeah, goddamn. So it was crazy. They were sitting at about $100, $150, 10 seconds left, and it just went. Anyway, there were some other ones that he was auctioning off that I also had my eye on. Because I didn't splurge on the Copiapoa, I ended up grabbing these guys. And we will grab them out for you. Sorry, I'm speaking a little softly because my better half and the two kids have gone to sleep. And Peaches is trying to go to sleep, aren't you? Isn't that right, mate? You're looking a little... She's pissed at me, guys. She's angry because I've put her on a diet. Ow, she's getting a bit tubby, so she's getting fed a lot less, which means she's constantly following me around meowing. Alright, so here we go. Now, I previously did an unboxing where I got a whole bunch of cacti from the Living Rock as well. I'll link that above for you to go and check out. There were some really cool Astrophytums in that one, and yeah, you can see that they do an absolutely amazing job of packaging plants up and sending them out. So, one of these is an Astecium that is a very rare genus of plant, genus of cactus, right? And it's also 18 years old, which is just ridiculous. So I can't wait to show you that. And the other one is an Astrophytum. Do this one first. Gently, gently. It's been packaged very well. It's funny, I almost don't know what size to expect because there's such an amount, because there's such a heavy amount of, because there's such a large amount of paper on it. So, I think we have the Astrophytum here by the looks of it. So, I will chuck the name on screen for you guys, as I don't remember the exact specifics and I don't want to screw it up, but it is one of these beautiful Japanese cultivars, and it's one that I do not have, so I was keen to get this one and again chuck it into the collection. And you can see as well it is flowering like crazy at the top there. Wow, my god, what a stunner. The best part about getting cacti from the living rock is that he sends them in pots so that they don't get disturbed. But yeah, So there you go. How cool is this guy? I just love the knobbly bits down the sides of the ribs in the middle there. You can see in the middle. And the fact that they're kind of like covered in white trichomes, the white hairs, is just so cool. And look at the number of flowers that are popping up. So this guy was obviously very, very happy wherever he was. So hopefully I can maintain that happiness in my little greenhouse. But yeah, what a stunner. What an absolute stunner. Okay, so there's number one. Are you guys ready for the second one? This is gonna be good. Save that packaging for later because I'll probably reuse it. Now it's funny, I've got, this is an Astecium hintonii, and I have another one. I can't remember how many species there are in this genus, but I have another one that is absolutely tiny and on graft. So it's obviously, recently grown out of seed and has been grafted onto another cactus and is growing. But this one is a, very old specimen. And I was chatting to a friend that I had made over the weekend. It's kind of a long story. I'll probably talk about it in another video. But he was watching the bidding too. It was really funny. We were chatting on Facebook, and he was like, "Did you see the Astecium go?" I think he couldn't believe. He was like, "It went for like $260." And he said to me, "It's probably worth like 600, but no one bidded on it." I was like, "This is crazy. No one bidded? No one bid on it." And I was like, I did. I was the winning bid. I was the one who got that, mate. And he was just like, God, that was such a steal. So hopefully I can do this plant justice, give it the home it deserves and keep it alive. But the plan is to hopefully get a bunch of these in the collection to be able to create seed from, as well as obviously grow out beautiful specimens. But yeah, wow, I was actually expecting something so much larger than this. It's just nuts how slow growing these guys are. Look at that. The reason that I got this is it's just absolutely beautiful. The ribs down the side of the plant and the creases on those ribs. I'm not sure if you can see them, but they just kill me. They're just so nice. It's a beautiful, absolutely beautiful color. So yeah, Astecium hintonii. Wow, welcome to the collection, and I am going to be so careful to keep this guy alive because again, despite the price, the fact that it's 18 years old and is only this, it's been hard grown, I imagine, it hasn't been on graft, and it's only this size is just absolutely insane. I'll see if I can find some photos of other mature specimens from online that you guys can check out so that you can get an idea of what they look like when they get fully sized up. But yeah, absolutely incredible. So pumped to have this one in the collection. Craziness. So those were the first two. That was this week's kind of lash out on eBay. These guys. All right, so I'll chuck them up here. You okay? You okay? Peach. Hey, why so violent? Haters gonna hate. This is the danger zone, guys. The danger zone is right in here. Can I touch it? Let me try that again. Just let me touch your belly. I get within like a centimeter and she's just like, ah. So anyway, I also went out today. Wednesday is typically my day where I have a bit more time to myself, and I usually go for a cruise past Bunnings, stock up on some plant supplies. I went to Officeworks as well, got some tape and some pencils and all sorts of other paraphernalia that I need for work / plant life. And I also went to, well, I mentioned Bunnings already? I think I did. Jeez, it's getting late. I went to Bunnings and had a look, as usual, at the plants and just couldn't help myself. So it was another one of those good days where they had stocked up on some new stock from Paradisia, or the collector's corner, as they often have on their labels. I think this is just Paradisia. Anyway, so I grabbed two of these Haworthia. They're slightly different species of cultivars. This one is Haworthia Superfasciata, So look at those sort of zebra spines on it. They're really, really cool. And then this one here is Haworthia Superfasciata hybrid. So again, just really cool. I really like these kinds of Haworthia now that have these just really cool stripes on them. They almost look like something that should be growing underwater in the ocean, right? Some kind of weird coral or creature. But yeah, I couldn't help myself, and you can see the prices there. Incredibly affordable. So I'm probably going to pot these guys up. I might not do it today, but we'll pot them up and see how they go. And the other reason that I grabbed both of these ones, there are a few other options as well, is that you can see they're both sending out pups around the base of the plant. And so I was sort of keen to learn to propagate these guys in the future. I think I was going to do a video at some point talking about buying experience, and that's not meant to be you need to waste money or spend a lot of money to, become more experienced. But I guess the basic idea is, and this is the sort of attitude that I had when I first got into plants, you can spend a bit of money initially to sort of speed up the process of getting knowledge, getting experience with propagating plants, growing plants, everything like that. So when I first started, I went to nurseries and was buying up all of the cheapest versions of, the other plants that I found really interesting, the variegated plants. I was just getting all the standard green forms that I could find, and sick plants as well. I was lashing out on loads of them and then learning to propagate with them, repotting them, trying different soils, and then rehabbing all the sick plants. And I lost a bunch of plants in the process that I either, rotted because I put in the wrong soil mix, or that were already dying and were too far gone for me to recover, or at least with the skills that I had. But I kind of really fast-tracked the amount that I learnt in such a short period of time. That was probably 3 to 4 months that I really learnt loads, because I ended up buying, 10, 20, 30 plants that were each $5, $10, $15, and just practicing these different things. So yeah, I definitely, because I'm keen to kind of get into Haworthia and learn more about them and propagate them, I start with something like this that is obviously readily available and cheap, so that you can give it a whirl. You can try it in different substrates. You can try propagating them because they've got pups coming off the bottom. And if you kill them, you haven't lost anything, and you can probably go out there and find them again. Whereas if you bought something rare that you found interesting online and you kill it, God forbid, it's probably going to be more expensive and more difficult to replace. So that's why I grabbed those Haworthia. I'm keen to see how they go. And that was the first Bunnings we went to. Now here's the second one. There is a lot of stuff in here that I can show you. Now, as usual, actually I did get one of these at that Bunnings too. As usual, when I see the blue torch, I normally pick them up because, again, sometimes they're absolutely huge. Like this one, at least comparatively, is massive. And again, $6, they're just, in and of themselves, they're just beautiful, and I would like to have some really good specimens to grow out, so I've got a whole bunch of these now. But also I want to use them as grafting stock when I have other plants that I'm growing out of seed to chuck on. So I think, sorry to kind of flash in my armpit, the cheapest way of doing it would take more time, and that would be obviously growing stuff from seed. So if you could find Myrtillocactus, geometrizans seeds, then obviously you'd be able to get a lot more for a lot less, but it would take a lot longer. So my sort of go-to is just searching for these guys, cheap and affordable, strong growers, good grafting stock at places like Bunnings, where you can pick them up for $6. So I've got a whole bunch of them now. I've probably got like 20 of these guys, but yeah, some of them are absolutely massive, and I just love the blue on them. And this is what happens: don't touch them. They have something called, I think it's farina on here. That is the covering. You can see that this guy's been pinched like that with someone's dirty, dirty fingers. And the farina, the protective coating that makes it look blue, has been wiped off, and it doesn't grow back. So yeah, don't touch them. Although I guess it's hard if you're repotting them. That's probably what happened. They probably picked them up like that and chucked them in a new pot. So they were the first 3. I think I got one of these with the Haworthia, but I just changed the box so that I could give myself a bit more space. Now, I couldn't help myself but get this. I think it's like a flapjack. Yeah, the Kalanchoe flapjacks is what it's called. And I'm a sucker for geometry, as you guys know, but also color. And I think my son's going to love this one because of the red on it. But it's just such a weird plant. I originally saw this and thought it was a crassula, because of the sort of four-sided geometry, but yeah, apparently it is Kalanchoe thyrsiflora, the flapjacks or desert rose. So there you go. That's a cool one to add to the collection. Again, very affordable. So what is it here? $10. So I'll pot him up, probably have him out the front of the house to add a bit of colour in. I don't know how it would go if I put it in the ground out the front of the house, but I've organised a little flower bed or succulent bed out there. Might even put some cacti in it, we'll see. And yeah, I guess it's just going to be trial and error to see what survives. But yes. Now, again, normally when you see that, it's interesting, you go to Bunnings and you'll see these trays that come from Paradisia, and there'll be different types of plants kind of categorized in there, and there's usually one tray that comes that just has all sorts of weird shit in it. And that's what happened with this guy and a bunch of other ones that I've got in here too. So this is Euphorbia inermis. I don't know if that's the actual species name, but inermis means usually no spines, so it could be the species name, but it's also a common descriptor you'll hear for spined succulent plants like cacti and euphorbia. If it's inermis, it means it has no spines on it. So yeah, this thing is just really cool, right? It looks like snakes growing out of a single point, or almost like an octopus turned upside down, or a squid or something. So again, I just couldn't help myself but pick this one up. $10 again, keen to see how it goes. And as we were talking about before with the buying experience, I don't really have a lot of experience with these kinds of euphorbia or succulents, so I'm keen to see how I can go growing it in my conditions before diving further into the euphorbia black hole. So yeah, it's crazy. I was learning the other day, cactus as a family of plants, I think it's only about 5 million years old. So I would assume this is sort of towards the end of the Miocene is when, at least in Australia, when I was doing my PhD in Australia, towards the end of the Miocene, which is a geological period in the past, I think it's like 22 million years to about 3 or 4 million years ago. I'd have to check. I'll see if I can chuck it up here. Hopefully I didn't embarrass myself too much and get it wrong. But the Miocene was a period where we had a lot of fluctuations in climate, and I think we slowly, at least in Australia, we had desertification happen, right? So you had the arid zone in Australia, the center of the continent, effectively drying out, and that desert expanding over a period of millions and millions of years. And that was when we had a lot of our desert adapted creatures evolve and adapt, right? Prior to that, the entire continent, Australia, I think it would be the same for probably Africa and South America and Central America, were forests, right? It was kind of like rainforest everywhere, temperate wet forests all over the place, and the animals in there weren't adapted to arid environments. And so what happened in Australia was that we had this gradual drying of the climate, and that led to a drying out of obviously the center of the continent, and all of the plants and animals started to adapt slowly over millions of years and evolve into new species that could handle drier and drier and drier environments. So I just want to pause the video and nerd out a little bit for a moment on this guy. This is one of my favorite species of Australian rat when I was doing my PhD. This is the Spinifex hopping mouse, Notomys alexis, and it has the most arid-adapted evolved kidneys of any mammal. This guy's loop of henle. So the loop of henle is part of the morphology inside of your kidney. You've got millions of these little guys in there, and its primary role is to pull water out of urine as well as salts. Animals that have really convoluted and long loops of henle can generally conserve a lot more water in their systems than animals that have very simple loops of henle. So the sort of more constricted and convoluted and long the loop is, the more water you can obviously pull back out of your urine and put back into your blood and your body. It's so evolved that it can absorb water, so much water out of its own urine that it effectively doesn't have to drink water. So it can get all the moisture it needs from the food that it consumes. And I think they do drink the urine of their babies in order to obviously make use of the moisture there, but they are just, an insanely well-adapted animal to the desert here in Australia. Notomys alexis, so cool. And so that would have been what I imagine happened with cacti, because it's at about that 5 million year mark that cacti come on the scene as their own family. The interesting thing is that Euphorbia evolved, I think, as a genus, although it's a massive genus that's, got like, I think 1,300 species or something in it. Pete, look up the actual number. It's absolutely enormous, and it probably should be subdivided into other genera and should be considered more of a higher classification than it currently is. Genus is, it's pretty rare to come across a genus that has over 1,000 species in it. It's just nuts. But anyway, it evolved apparently 30 plus million years ago in, I assume it's the African continent, all over there. I'm not sure how far it goes into the Middle East and beyond, but it's like, 6 times, 7 times older than cactus as a family, which is the reason it has so many more species in it. But yeah, I just find that really interesting. You look at Euphorbia and cacti, I don't know, for some reason when I was first learning about them, I thought, oh, they're going to be the original arid-adapted plant with spines, but it turns out that Euphorbia had been doing all of that stuff, evolving those features and traits for millions upon millions of years, tens of millions of years before cactus even came on the scene. So there you go. That meme, Simpsons did it, from South Park.
Simpsons did it! Simpsons did it!
Euphorbia did it. I should probably get a t-shirt and have it say that Euphorbia did it first, right? Okay, what else do we get here? So we'll mix it up. All right, so this is Echeveria minima, white. Now, I couldn't help but get this little dude because of the geometry on this little dude. The colors too, I love those pastel colors. They're just absolutely gorgeous, especially when they go from like a light color to dark towards the tips there. When you get that kind of gradient change, so the tips of this plant are kind of like dark reddy purple, and the rest of it is this light pale green turquoisey kind of color. But it's also puffed out from the base, which is really cool. So it was another excuse to kind of spend a bit to get some experience, because I have no idea how you propagate these guys. I mean, I assume you just cut them off below the base of each of these kind of rosettes that have appeared below the plant, but I have no experience trying it or doing it with Echeveria. So I was keen, to just stock up on this little guy. And I think it's hard for me to describe, but I get it with cacti too, and I don't think I have any here. Oh, I do. I've got one little cactus here. There's something about these kind of like small, round, multi-headed plants like this that have really intricate detail on each of the heads or the pups. So when you get this kind of like geometrical spiraling of things, there's these patterns, there's just something about it that just really does it for me. I just find them it's almost hallucinogenic to look at them, right? Like if you just stare at them, it's like reminds me of those things you can see online where they tell you to stare at the center of an image and it's, spinning or changing colors around the outside, so that when that stops and they show you a different image, everything is going like this. I always get those kind of vibes from plants like this when you look down the middle. It's just like, a bit of a space cadet, but yeah. And when they're this small and this kind of detailed, just love it. So I couldn't help but grab one of these minimas. So I'm keen to see how it goes. It probably needs to be repotted soon. And I don't know if I'll chop it up or what, but it'll be cool. The other cool thing is, because succulents are so prevalent in terms of people's interests and hobbies, these are really good, I've found, for just gifts for people. So, it's one thing to give people cacti or even aeroids. Aeroids are probably a bit better because you can give people indoor plants and they're kind of like, oh, sweet, can't wait to kill that from underwatering. But I think it's a bit weird. It'd be weird, I feel, to give someone a cactus, especially a nice one. If you gave them something like this. I don't know. I feel like if I wasn't a cactus person, you'd just be like, what do I do with this? That's a very weird gift. So yeah, but I think succulents, on the other hand, are a little less strange, a little more acceptable. So yeah, Echeveria minima white. Then I saw this one and I was like, oh, it's a Rabutia or something. And then I had a closer look and I was like, wait a second, that's a new genus. So it was like that moment where you're playing Pokemon and you go into a new area and a new animal comes up, but you only see the shadow initially and you're thinking, oh, it's another pigeon. And then it turns out to be a sparrow or whatever it's called. I've forgotten the name. God, I thought I was going to nail that. But it turns out to be a different bird Pokemon. And you're like, oh my God, I got to add it to the collection. So this, I believe, would be a cultivar. Yeah, okay. It says it on the back. Read that first, Pete. It's got the name pink champagne, so I assume that has to do with the color of the flowers. That may or may not have been another reason that I wanted to grab this plant. Those flowers look absolutely gorgeous. And so, yeah, small, compact, multiple heads, geometrical kind of patterning on it that just looks absolutely epic when you get up close and personal with it. And it's a new genus. So yeah, it's kind of just adding to a bit of diversity to my greenhouse so that it's not just Oreocarpus and Astrophytums in there. So there you go. And I have to say it, Alistera. So Alistera is this genus. Very cool. Welcome to the group, buddy. All right, we're still going. Another one. I think is this Mammillaria? Yeah, Mammillaria vetula oruga. So I assume that's a cultivar as well then. Yeah, cultivar. That is so weird. These guys really confuse me, man. I'm going to show you guys this if I can pull it out. This happens so often with plants and their names. So I was like, am I high? What does the front there say? Oruga, right? O-R-U-G-A. And then you flip it over, and what does it say up the top here? Orunga. O-R-U-N-G-A. So I guess I'll look this up. I'm assuming it's probably Orunga, and they've misspelled it on the front here, which is very bizarre. Anyway, I'll look it up and I'll get back to you down below. This one I grabbed because, I'm just giving it a little feel. Oh my God, that is so cool. This is an example of another, I guess it would be inermis. I'm not sure. It's interesting. Some of these cacti, you'll see at the base here, there are spines right down the base of both of these heads on the cactus. But once it's gotten bigger, it just has these tufts of hairs or trichomes on the end of these tubercles on the cactus, and the spines are gone. So it's become inermis where there are no more spines. And so, yeah, these ones are interesting. I really like the hairy ones. And as you can probably see, hopefully if I cover it up, the tops almost look like little clouds above mountains, right? It's almost the vibe that I'm getting from these guys. They're almost like each of these tubercles is a mountain with a cloud just sitting over the top of it. Again, really cute little flowers, which is common for Mammillaria. And it's just a species I don't have. So I was keen to get this one again and see how it would go in the collection. Really affordable, as you can see down there. And just really interesting. So yeah, I'm not sure if it stays small, if it gets huge. It's one of these things too, you sort of bring it into the collection and then you're like, oh sweet, I've got all this research that I have to do now to work out how do I care for this thing, where is it from, why did it evolve the way that it looks, you know, just yeah, so cool. Ooh, and I can see some flowers coming up the top. I'm not sure if you can see that little pink dot in there, that's a flower coming. And the other cool thing down the middle there is a pup coming out, or another cactus, another head that's going to grow out the side of this one over here. I'm not sure if you can see right down the middle there. So again, just really cool to kind of watch them do these things. And the thing that has been quite surprising since getting into cacti, my assumption was that they grow so slowly, and some of them do, but other ones actually change on a regular basis, and it's kind of actually sort of surprising. I wasn't expecting to kind of walk into the greenhouse, especially because I have a lot that are on graft, so they're growing a lot more quickly. I wasn't expecting to kind of go in there on a regular basis and be like, that's different. So, all right, so we got 3 left. This one I couldn't help but grab. So this is Pachypodium lamerei. And I think, again, I haven't looked deeply into this, but I think, I'll have to correct myself if I'm wrong on screen, it is a Madagascan native. And again, it has spines, but it also has leaves. And I think it kind of grows into a sort of trunk with these nice kind of leaves coming out that is absolutely beautiful. But again, very affordable. Don't think I've got this genus. I might have one other Pachypodium in the collection, but I definitely don't have this one, and then I'm just curious to grow it out and see how it goes. But yeah, absolutely beautiful. And I'm pretty sure I've seen large ones of this at nurseries, and they've just been ridiculously expensive, right? And I imagine they're just slow growers, or they take a lot of time. But yeah, I was keen to get one. Yeah, you can see here, there's obviously a much more mature plant and what it ends up looking like. It's just cool. It's just really cool. Anyway. This is the kind of cool thing about Bunnings and the collector's corner plants like this. They're very cheap, they're very affordable, and they have a massive diversity of different types of plants. So you can go in, I imagine they've got a store, I think, in Springvale, I think, in Melbourne. So you can go in there and I imagine you can see everything out there for display and for purchase. So if you're interested in this sort of stuff and you're living in Melbourne, maybe go check them out and try and get your hands on some of the stuff that doesn't make its way to Bunnings very often. All right, so I've got one of these, but I had to get another one because I want to be able to make seed, and because they're just bloody fungus gnat, and because they're just fucking cool plants. Check this guy out. So this is the old man of the Andes, Oreocereus and neocelcianus, and he's just cool. He's just really, really cool. I love the hair on the top, as well as these just vicious orange spines that you can see just getting larger and larger the more the plant grows. And the angles that they come out on, the ribs, you know, you can sort of see how these lines of tubercles are kind of going up the side, or areoles are going up the side of the plant here. It's just a really, really cool plant. So yeah, when I saw another one of these available, I was like, I've got to get two so that if they both flower at once, I can make seed and then go through the process of growing these guys out from seed and hopefully seeing a bit more diversity, right? And that's the really cool thing about cacti, probably succulents and Euphorbia and everything else too. Because you can grow them from seed, you get to see so much diversity. So often I assume that a lot of these plants that I have in front of me have actually been grown from seed and aren't grafted or anything like that, or they might be pups off some cacti, but you go to places where you can see multiple specimens and you'll notice lots of different traits so that you can tell they're not just clones of one another. They are actually seed grown. What you doing? What you doing? But yeah, the reason it's really cool to grow from seed is that you get recombination occurring so that you end up with unique individuals that look different from one another. And sometimes you end up with incredibly cool traits coming out, even if, you know, all the other ones look very, very similar. Sometimes you get weird stuff coming out, which just doesn't happen with aeroids or indoor plants when you're taking cuttings constantly. It's something that might happen with anthuriums a lot more frequently because you can grow them from seed more readily. But yeah, with things like obviously the Monstera alba or those other ones that are always from cuttings, a plant is a plant is a plant is a plant. It's all the same individual effectively, right? Anyway, last one. Now, I couldn't help but grab this one. This is a Gasteria, and I don't actually know what it is because it doesn't have it labeled on here. It just says Gasteria Collection Series or Collectors Series. Now, I wonder if you can see the reason that I grabbed this one. And I'm not sure if that's intentional or not. Like if it's just a spontaneous mutation that's happened to this one, or if they actually have them variegated like this. So yeah, this one was variegated. I spotted it and was like, what? That's crazy, you know, especially for $12. I don't have a Gasteria that's variegated. I have one other one that's at the front of the house. I think it's a different species or cultivar from this one. But yeah, again, just really cool plants. They have really cool geometry to them. They end up with these like different angled leaves coming out. They're really thick. They have these beautiful dots and patterning on them. You can touch them. It's almost, these guys are almost serrated like fat shark teeth. So really cool. And then when you get it variegated over the top of that, thank you, Mother Nature and artificial selection by humans. So yeah, there you go. The Gasteria here. I'll have to try and look into it and work out what it is. If you guys know what that is, feel free to leave a comment below and let me know. But that is today's haul, guys. Hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to check out this video next, and I'll hopefully see you there. Tooroo. Say bye, Peach. You gonna say ciao ciao? She's like, I'm hungry, you asshole. I say goodbyes for food. Boop.